I've worked with over 100 wholesalers, and what I've found is that 90% don't actually have a lead problem. They've got a system problem. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how we fixed it. This is the framework that we've used to double deal flow in just 60 days. And not with more hustle, but with smarter infrastructure. If you don't know who I am, my name is Esteban Andrade, and I've scaled multiple seven-figure agencies in the real estate wholesaling space, where I do recruiting and marketing for wholesalers, and we work with the top investors in the space, and I've learned so much that I want to bring that to you. I'm on a mission of helping over 1,000 wholesalers actually scale profitably in a really smart way so you can start leveraging yourself properly and go to the moon. Let me show you how we built this machine. And before we go deep, let me show you how the full system actually works in a very high level. This is basically the wholesaler Dean machine engine that actually runs your company. And a lot of people, they get stuck in the first or two, or only do one or two of these. And sometimes they start fixing something that it's not necessary for them to be fixed, because the theory of constraints actually talks about that you need to be able to take care of the most important thing that would make the flow keep going. So think about a pipe that is leaking, and it's not about putting a band-aid in that leak, but it's actually fixing some sort of root cause, some sort of constraint that is not allowing the flow to go in. So once you actually fix that ultimate root cause and constraint, then the pipe will start actually flowing how it's supposed to go, even if you have a few leaks, because then you're going to be able to fix those few leaks. And probably because you fixed the main leak, the main constraint, now you're going to be able to actually have a better flow. So the first one is actually breaking down your scalable lead generation system. And we're going to start with inbound marketing because that's what we specialize in. And I'm going to break it down into three major channels. Google Ads, PPC, which is search and display, Facebook ads and Instagram ads, which is Meta, and YouTube ads. So we have here, and we can always add TikTok and so on. But this channel right here is high intent based search engine. There's some sort of disruptive marketing in there if you were to add display marketing, but that still is from high intent individuals. And then we go to Facebook ads, Instagram ads. So this is disruptive. This is interruption marketing, great for scaling ultimately. And you've seen probably a lot of my ads out there, and you've seen a lot of We Buy Houses ads. This is what actually means. People that are starting to get motivated, or the last stage of motivation of they've probably not done a Google search just yet, or they've done it and you're just retargeting them. And then YouTube ads, which actually is tricky because it has both disruptive, right, and search intent. So you're going to be able to actually have a channel that is the next level trust building factor, because it allows you to actually promote using your YouTube channel. So if your YouTube channel is also growth, so if your YouTube channel is also strong, it also helps you scale. So the first thing is that we have to be able to pick only one channel first. And a lot of people, they say, I have $15,000 in budget for marketing, and I'm going to start multiple channels. And I think that this is good thinking, but the wrong thinking at the same time. You don't have the luxury to actually have many different channels, because they all act differently. Even if it is an outbound channel versus an inbound channel, they all act differently. So Google Ads, for example, they are ultimately searching online, and they're going to see your competitors, and they're going to click on every single competitor until they find something. And sometimes they go into bidding wars. And your speed to lead and your sales process is very important. Facebook ads, you may need a lot more follow-up and nurture. And then you also may need to find their motivation deeper with like better skill sets, like for example, using NAPQ or like emotional persuasive questioning, right? YouTube ads, it's a combination of both. but you're still gonna have that person that is just getting motivated. Remember, there's shorts and also in the videos, in-stream ads. So being able to pick one and based on your budget on skill is very important. I highly recommend that if you're picking an inbound marketing channel, it's because you have high skills already and you're able to actually put in the money. But if you have lower skills and you have lower budget, I really would recommend that you start with an outbound channel. Okay, it costs a little bit less, and you will be able to ultimately start learning those skills that you require. And the biggest skill that you should learn is ultimately sales. I mean, lead generation is another skill, but you can go to an agency or some sort of paper lead company or some sort of like call center agency to help you do that. But right now, let's focus on inbound marketing. So also focus ultimately at the beginning whenever you're starting into one avatar. So for example, wholesaling, right? Wholesaling is ultimately important for you to master it. If you master wholesaling, you can ultimately go ahead and move towards mastering novations, for example, which is another dispo and exit strategy and another way to actually give offers and master that, and so on. And then master using simple landing pages. You can start with the internal forms for each one of them. So that way you have a way to always generating leads based on their internal forms. But if you master simple landing pages with motivated seller language, you can always read $100 million leads by Alex Hormozi. It will tell you exactly the best landing page structure. You're going to be able to ultimately create a landing page that generates motivated seller leads, or just model Open Door or those, those bigger companies. And then learn how to track cost per lead and lead to deal conversion. So if you're, for example, not tracking cost per lead, and cost per lead is, for example, ultimately bigger than your cost per acquisition, or cost per contract, then you're ultimately gambling. That's not marketing. So being able to learn how to track your cost per lead properly, have a marketed qualified cost per lead. So if you learn how to ultimately understand how much you're paying per qualified lead based on a scoring system, or based on intent level, or you got to be able to create that for your company, and then know that what you're paying for is less than your cost per acquisition, right? And then also that your cost per that your deal size is also going to have a ratio of at least 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. Then that's where you actually are becoming more profitable. Okay, I'm not going to dive deep into that right now, but that's ultimately just numbers. So example of a great ad, okay? And the anatomy of a great ad. Uh, One, you got to have your target audience, have a great offer to show, attention-grabbing creatives, strong call to action, direct copy for homeowners that really need to sell, and easy, fast landing pages, and a way to retarget them. So this is how the ad copy could look like right in here. And it's just a very direct, compelling copy for your homeowners. This is how the creatives, whether that's static or that's video creatives, would look like. And then ultimately, this would go to a landing page that could potentially look like this, or like this, or even a form like this inside of Facebook, or a survey that you ultimately can create. And this actually, as a matter of fact, we have a CRM.com that comes in with an already packaged landing pages and things for you to use. And then after the lead has been generated, you send it to a CRM. So you send it to a Beast lead management system that ultimately has the ability for you to organize your leads by sections. So for example, new lead, working, cold follow-up, warm follow-up, hot follow-up, that lead appointment set. and then ultimately, it can just go through under contract and close deal and so on. That's for the acquisition type of funnel. Again, that would be for using a good CRM that has a great automation. And that comes to my second point, okay? So the second point right here would be lead intake. So what does that mean? Just to break it down, you have to be able to capture leads, right? You capture it through the forms and surveys. You capture their phone numbers, their emails, and their information. Some of that information is, pain-based questions that you ultimately capture, and also some are customized for the type of avatar, the type of lead that you're actually getting. And you send it, you capture that, right? And then you ultimately have an immediate response to that lead. And you just create a standard operating procedure on how you're going to ultimately respond to that lead. Okay? There's playbooks out there for you to have an instant follow-up that could go with SMS, email, ringless voicemails, and a quick phone call. And this usually goes together between technology and labor. So I talk about labors a lot. You use technology to get your time back, to use automation in your CRM. So for example, Go High Level, which we have a Go High Level base CRM is called REI Rocket Force. Or you can use things like RE Simply or, Investor Carrot CRM, like Invest Refuse, and that will help you do the automation flow. So when you create this, which by the way, if you want the entire first 10 follow-up sequence, just comment in the comments below that you want it, and I'll be giving more things away like this. So 2 to 5 minutes response time will ultimately boost your conversion rate by 300%. So this is not just data that I'm telling you out of theory. There is big corporations, big CRMs out there that tell you, and they measure data themselves, that tell you, hey, if someone responds to an ad and then they reach out to that lead in, let's say, in a few minutes, let's say 2-3 minutes, there is a high likelihood that that person will pick up the phone, that person will have a conversation with you and not anyone else, and that person ultimately, if done well, will also convert into a potential contract, into potential deal. So the more time that you give and the more time that it takes, guess what? The less likelihood that that's going to happen. And also, people are going to forget what they just did, especially when they went online and they could have been in the bathroom, they could have been at the job, they could have been in the car, they got busy. People get busy for X random stuff. Something happens, shit happens. So just be fast. Okay? Speed wins all the time. So again, use tools like Go High Level, and there is things that you can do with it a lot that would automate it. SMS, email sequences to pre-qualify. So if you're not too slow, and remember this, you're not too slow. You just have a system that is. 95% of the leads are lost because of delay, not because of this interest. So if you put a lot of effort into this, building this lead management system, which we actually, cover right here in this section, which we actually now, guys, to give you a different perspective on how important speed to lead and response time is actually important, is look, even by various articles, and usually this is data that is gathered from CRMs, so either Salesforce or HubSpot, or I've actually was part of a presentation from RE Simply that we're talking about different stats and included speed to lead or response time. So here it says conversion rate increase responding within 5 minutes can increase conversion rate by 21 times compared to waiting for 1 hour. And this came from, let's say it right here, lean data. So it's a data page, lead angel, qualification rates. Responding within 5 minutes is 21 times more likely to qualify a lead than waiting at 30 minutes. Again, Revenue Hero, TechLend. Missed opportunities every 10 minutes delay can decrease conversion chances by 400%. Don't be a turtle, all right? Be a freaking ninja, not a ninja turtle. Buyer preference. 78% of buyers purchase from the first company to respond, which means that your seller, in this case, is your buyer, right? It's the reverse, will be most likely to do business with you if you actually are fast and you display that customer service they want. Average response time. The average lead response time is about 47 hours, which is crazy, you know? Ideal response time. Many sources suggest that responding within 5 minutes is ideal, with some even advocating for a minute response time for even better results. The way that we do it is 2 minutes, and we have inside sales agents that are actually calling. And in the future, we will have AI inside sales agents that are going to be calling within a second. And so impact for delay. After 5 minutes, the odds of qualifying a lead drops significantly. And after 30 minutes, the effectiveness of contacting the lead is 21 times less, which means that if you got a lead and you're qualifying them after, they probably forget about you. They're not as warm. They don't want to put the time. Like, look, this is very important. Regardless whether this is Google or Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, cold call, doesn't matter. Industry benchmarks. A lead response time benchmarks can vary by industry. All right, so here's the thing. If you are forgetting about the lead will forget about you. They have very short attention span, all right? Yes, you will get a lot of money from follow-up, but doesn't mean that that's what you gotta rely on. Is speed to lead is one of the big four, all right? Next one is lead qualification offer engine. The next one is lead qualification and offer engine. So at this point, at this part right here, we want to make sure that we have a few stages, all right? You have to make sure that whenever you're filtering people, it starts from the top of the funnel. Obviously, it starts from the form with pain-based questions that ultimately uses pain-based qualifications that lets the seller trigger their emotions and tell you that they have a pain, and then ultimately add some personalized questions. But we want to make sure that whenever we're doing this qualification, we of course cover the four principles, which is timeline, condition, price, and motivation. So whenever an instant sales agent is actually doing the work too, or a lead manager, you may want to just capture this real fast and do a live transfer. This is very important to do a live transfer. And if you have someone to do an appointment, potentially that someone knows how to dive deeper, because you want ultimately these people to feel understood. So a good lead manager is going to actually do an actual triage, and it's not just going to be super like surface level. So there's different types of people that you gotta have in here, or one person that could ultimately can do it all. And one, if you have an inside sales agent that responds real fast, that could be a lead manager, all right? And these people do an actual triage for you, especially if you're solo, they can do the triage for you and then ultimately do a live transfer. There are softwares like Goha Level that do live transfers, allow for live transfers, or dialers, right? And if you have your acquisition team also doing this, it's also good, but just keep in mind that they might be in a seller call instead of like picking up the lead real fast. So they might be busy, right? So you could have junior acquisitions also do this as well. Or I've seen sometimes where acquisition managers are just fully responsible from end-to-end sales cycle, right? So lead to close. Next, stop. And this is guys, this is what's going to help you stop letting leads fall through a crack and fully understand how to actually help more than just the laydowns and the actual and help you understand how to help more than just the laydowns or the low hanging fruit sellers, because a lot of you guys are actually just helping the low hanging fruits, which means that those people that are ultra distressed. But instead, if you're actually doing a script based filtering, which is a triage, a discovery call, then this allows you to actually get deeper with seller and understand their gap. This is where part of the sales process starts. So if you want to stop throwing away money, you have to take into account that there's more people that you can help. So stop throwing away 95% of your triage. Big four is offers. So having an underwriting team and a dispo exit strategy to be able to give different type of offers to the sellers is very important. Now, acquisition strategies or like dispo exits is important. So like sub to seller finance, novations, wholesale cap, very important. But also in the front end, if you want to separate yourself from the competition in terms of marketing, you can always add, like for example, we'll buy your sell house. Will For example, we'll buy your house fast as is in the next 7 days, and I'll give you $1,000 for you to move, or $5,000. We'll cover $5,000 on, or we cover $5,000 on whatever, or you can add like an extra value to separate yourself from the competition, and this ultimately allows you to really have better and better cost per lead, cash potential, cash offer potential, creative financing, or innovations, and ultimately follow up for the future. Keep this into account. The top wholesalers that do not make offers, they just create offers that are aligned to the seller's needs and wants. So they find a gap, and based on this gap, they create an actual offer that fits these requirements, that is customized. That is how you actually get to close more deals. Up is the follow-up system, and this needs to be a flywheel. So if you don't have an actual system that actually works all together into one component, it's going to be very hard for you to actually get the most out of your leads. You'll have leads fall through the crack. And this system needs to categorize and be using the technology that we're using, CRMs, to properly categorize and put these leads into a smart list. All right. So for example, hot leads, daily touch; warm, weekly touch; cold, monthly touch. So create these categories into your CRM so you can actually get to the sellers, and use SMS, email, voicemail drops. Make sure that you record every single phone call conversation. By doing tagging would actually allow you to segment leads based on whether that's the motivation, urgency, whatever result you had about that seller's conversation or what you saw. And you should be able to actually segment it for doing follow-up, to do follow-up and create a smart list, and then potentially also create automation around those tags to keep this consistent. We actually built a 6 month and 12-month follow-up and nurturing system for a specific different categories that would allow you to actually touch base with that seller. And sometimes you will have sellers that they kind of fell off the face of the earth. And this automation with SMS, email, voicemail drops will just get a hold of the seller. We've had a situation where the seller 17 touch was able to actually get a deal. I'll show you an example. This example, guys, we have someone that went through our automation, and this is an automated SMS. So not only it helps start conversations, but follows up, nurtures. So in this example here, there was a seller that responded from our quick question: why are you looking to sell your house and how soon? Behind on taxes, ASAP or lose it. There was a conversation, recorded the conversation, made sure that we understood the entire motivation. And obviously this was a seller that was behind in taxes and couldn't afford it, and this is an example of a deal one. And here this automated SMS, which was a 17 touch, responded to this message: hey, I was just about to close your file. have reached out a few times, still would love to earn your business and help you. Do you at least have 2 minutes to chat on the phone? And then look, seller responded this. Hi, sorry, I just got my phone back and it was lost for a couple days. Anyways, here's my situation in a nutshell. I live in a house that I bought with my husband of 19 years. We bought it in 2017 when I was pregnant with my twins, and I moved in right after they were born. We own a landscape gardening business, and I also worked as a store manager at Circle K. 6 months after moving in, my husband had a complete mental breakdown and proceeded to whatever. This was an completed unprovoked, and I was in shock. I had no idea. I take my babies off with me on foot in a snowstorm while I chase him down the street in a towel. A 3-hour police standoff ensued, resulting in him being thrown into the mental health system and also in prison for the last few years. I couldn't run the business without his expertise with running our curve machines, so my income was literally cut down to a quarter of what it used to be. Right after this, COVID came and I lost my job due to missing so much work from going to court dates and lack of childcare because of closures. Receive unemployment and have a roommate, but have fallen so behind the mortgage that it would just take almost $38,000 to reinstate. I wanted to apply for a modified mortgage, but I don't think they will approve me due to lack of income. This was a motivated and ultra distressed seller. And guess what? This only could have happened if this wouldn't have happened if we didn't have that automated SMS. 17 touch, crazy. Then she's like, so I'm left with selling my house so that I can hopefully walk away with a little bit of money to buy a trailer for my kids and I to move into. I'm scared to death, and I'm left with 4 kids, a mortgage that is crazy expensive, $1,300 a month, our closed business that I can't do anything until he gets out of prison or whatever. That was a crazy story, and this is literally what happened. And just because of SMS automation, at the end, leads don't die. They just hide in your CRM, and then you don't touch them. You forget about them. You really don't think that they're important. Like, reactivate them. And actually, as a matter of fact, I created a video here in my YouTube channel. Let me show you. If you go to my YouTube channel, it's called the Top 1% Don't Want You to Know This New Strategy, the Re-Offer Campaign, Reactivate Leads. So if you click in here, you'll be able to see the entire reactivation campaign, the entire masterclass that I did, and it was a document. If you want that document, comment below in the comments, and I'll send it to you. I'm not sure if I put it in here, but yeah, like literally, this is exactly it. Like, I go over the entire reactivation offer, how you should reactivate sellers that are living in your CRM and you haven't touched them. These are golden sellers. Okay, appointment setting to closing. So a lot of people don't measure this. It's very important because a lot of people, they just go for the leads. But the biggest difference that we do as an agency is that we optimize for appointments. Appointments are more qualified, they're more high intent. And if you optimize for appointments and you feed it back into the algorithm, whether that's Google or Facebook, you're going to have better data of richer individuals that literally have the intent of talking to you, put the time, and so on. And sometimes you can actually measure this offline or after the lead has been generated, and then the step after is an appointment. So this is very important for you to create better data. But this process ultimately happens so that you can have a 2-step process, right? You set an appointment and then you close an appointment. All right. It could be in person. It could be also call. Like, a lot of people do virtual calls, and that's okay. Some people still do in person. So the first thing is to reframing the seller expectations. So whenever a lead comes in, they may see an offer and they'll be like, oh, I want this. I want the best offer possible. I want top dollar, full price, whatever. But it's very important for you to take control of that conversation. This is pure sales. So in the appointment, you not only connect with the seller and start building rapport, but you set an agenda and you frame this conversation with expectations. Something like this. Hey, Mr. Seller. So we buy houses cash, and also sometimes we buy houses creatively. And I want to have a conversation with you here so I can figure out what will be the best possible scenario to help you. And if we possibly could help you, then we'll figure out what would be the best type of offer. And at any given point, just tell me if we're not a good fit, and that will be okay. I'll also tell you if we're not a good fit. So I want to make sure that I ask you a couple of questions about your current situation, where you need to be, a little bit about the property, and then that way we'll create a specific customized game plan to buy your house and give you a custom offer that actually fits you. Does that make sense? So this way you're able to take control of the conversation from the very beginning, and this starts the discovery process. So not just how much do you want, but like you actually have the authority of doing this, right? So you got to be able to position options like fast cash, term offers, divisions, because based on the conversation, based on the questions that you ask, and based on ultimately the motivation and condition of the property, like what they're willing to go for in the lowest amount after doing the series of discovery questions. And we actually use NAPQ in order to go through this. I created a masterclass that literally goes about this. And I also have a discovery call script that talks about this to figure out the deeper level of motivation and the gap that these sellers would have that sometimes is so surface level what they tell you that it's so that is so unapparent right away that they do have an issue. You have to figure out how big the issue is. This is so important, especially about online leads. So for example, follow a sales process, increase your sales skills, get with coaching, do daily huddles, because this is going to help you actually get better at sales. Daily huddles, qualitative feedback, track your metrics. And the metrics that you should be able to track here are show rate, offer rate, close ratio, cash collected, and units sold or deals sold. And then ultimately you want to have a specific amount of deal size and cost per contract. And those are numbers that you should be tracking in sales at all times, so you understand how much a client is worth for you and how much does it cost to actually acquire a client. Example of a wholesaling scoreboard, where you have metrics, KPIs that you should be tracking every single day and every single week. Number of leads, contact made, number of appointments, lead to appointment ratio, number of offers, lead to offer ratio, number of contract rate, close ratio, on contract, close ratio, on the deal, and so on. Now for the next part, stop throwing dead leads. You have to monetize as many as you need to. So it means that you have to, this is part of the big four, all right? Better acquisition methods, and then ultimately offers, which leads to better dispo strategies and so on. Better sales skills, better follow-up, and better mindset towards your leads. And here, you ultimately want to be able to have a way to disposition creatively, whether it's assigning, novating, JVing, and so on. Why you only need 5 to 10 buyers is because if you have 5 to 10 VIP buyers that always will buy from you, and you should negotiate a good assignment fee for each one of them, especially if you're in a local market, then you're not going to have to like always be running to find another buyer and have that process. Now, if you are nationwide, then that is definitely important. And you should be using tools like Investor Base or Investor Lift, which by the way, I left a link to them in the description in this YouTube channel, so that you can actually reach out to buyers, find buyers about that specific place. If you find a lead outside of your area, you just need to find a buyer that will buy that actual lead and have an exit strategy for that ultimate lead. Build a real dispo relationship. So as it means is that in order to have a better way to find your close, that means that in order to increase your closing ratio, you have to have relationships with other wholesalers, with JV partners, with other buyers, and always be going to meetups, always be networking, always be finding people that are willing to buy your deals.
that are always buying, that are always going through the trends, and they're actually know that the market is changing, and they will be buying a specific type of leads, and they'll have you in their list, in their contact list. The other one is exit strategy tree. So you should be able to assign, you should be able to flip, you should be able to do retail innovation, you should be able to do sub to hold or assign, seller finance, hold or assign, or agent referral. These are 5 buckets that will help you just close more deals. Now, I'm not telling you you should be doing this right away. Get good at assignment so you can actually do really well at retail innovation and have still referrals for agents, and then slowly learn sub to hold seller finance. Flipping is an entire different beast. I don't teach that, but I know a lot of clients that actually do flip and cherry pick some deals because they're able to do 50 to 100K deals, or sometimes even bigger, just by flipping and just essentially doing the process. But again, that's an entire different animal, and I don't want to mess with that. And then once this system works, scale it with people and paid ads. So the first thing is you should be hiring a lead manager, someone that is a junior acquisition, ultimately, that has the potential to becoming a closer. And this person will be reaching out to every single one of your leads, helping you do speed to lead, do appointments, live transfers, any follow-up that needs to be done, getting hold of the leads as much as possible. They need to be trained in sales. And there's different trainings out there. NEPQ is one. Um, Jerry Green is another one. Steve Trang is another one. Eric Klein is another one. I personally like a lot Jeremy Miner NEPQ, and I like Steve Trang and even RJ Bates, even though he's focused on closers. But for lead manager, I would do some sort of lead NEPQ training as well, or Steve Trang. Check out his content. Uh, the setter. So the setter is basically the same thing. It just will be someone that will be triaging your leads and will be doing a deeper discovery call. All right. The closer is up next. If you have a system where you're already closing enough deals and you have enough leads to ultimately delegate, because your pipeline is becoming very saturated and there's a lot of appointments, this needs to be ultimately delegated at that point. I would recommend doing it at 70-80% capacity of what you can do, or at the time where you believe you're spending too much time only on closing when you should be able to hire and like build more systems and be able to bring in, so that this person close with you, and slowly you'll be giving a lot more leads to that person, but you still close, you keep closing, and you become a sales manager as well. All right, and that's another entire skill, and I kind of have a few videos on my YouTube channel that talked about this. And the dispo rep. So dispo rep will be helping you creating buyer relationships, whether that's like reaching out to new buyers and introduce them to you, or creating the relationships with those buyers. And that's a B2B type of individual, some sort of account manager that has an experience on building buyer relationships or B2B relationships. And then if you want to ultimately hire these individuals, I would highly recommend that either you get good at doing job posts in Indeed and all these other job boards that work like LinkedIn and Indeed, or hire a recruiter, because recruiters will save you a lot of time. That's what I did. And then start delegating one at a time. Okay. And the last one would be a sales manager. This is when you already probably have about 2 to 3 closers, and now you start hiring a sales manager. I wouldn't hire a sales manager way before that, because I did that and I did a huge mistake doing that. Now, for every single one of these roles, you should have a few things. You should have the role description, you have the responsibilities, the requirements, and the results that they should actually provide. And this would include the KPIs and metrics that they should be actually getting. So for each one of them, create a scorecard and create this description that ultimately, whenever you're onboarding them, you go over this scorecard with these individuals and these 4 R's basically, and everything is clear. And this scorecard needs to be as granular as possible. So, for example, lead manager, speed to lead, right? number of follow-ups, number of leads reached out, appointments done that day, number of appointments showed, right? Or these are different type of metrics. Closer, number of leads actually talked to, quality conversations, number of offers given, number of contracts, right? Ultimately, number of follow-ups, show ratio on the demo, all right, or the game plan, and then create different KPIs for these individuals. In the next video, I'll show you exactly how to train your $6, $7 an hour lead manager that pulls six figures out of the leads that you already are getting, and they are already in your CRM. They're just ultimately just there, and they're a gold mine. And it's a video that talks about how to actually find these individuals. This is what a real wholesaling business look like. There's a lot more things in the operational side. You probably have to take care of also transaction coordination, and highly recommend companies like Easy REI as well, because this is something that is administrative, operational, that is going to help you close more deals because you don't have to deal with this admin stuff. Ultimately, hire an executive assistant to help you with all this stuff. Delegate the things in an agency service first and then bring it in-house. That is my biggest recommendation. Machine that not only brings leads, qualifies the leads, helps you maintain the leads, nurture the leads, ultimately qualify the leads, getting them appointments, close it, and even when you're not working, this work operations. Now I helped over 100 real estate wholesalers scale. If you want a copy of this system, just click on the description below, claim it, book a call with our team. If it makes sense for you to start generating motivated seller leads with our system in a predictable way, in a measurable way, so you can scale it and ultimately apply this to your business as well. Exact lucid chart, well, comment below and I'll send it to you.